personas que bueno, tax
Hello to everybody who's already here.
Hello, professor. Can I say something in Spanish or no?
Yeah, dígame.
No pude estar en la clase, se me atravesó algo, pero igual reviso todo el módulo de la clase anterior para la clase 310.
Pues para la clase 3 días, ¿qué pasó con?
Para la clase 310,
Ok, ya.
no estuve en clase. I was absent.
No pasa nada. Y pues, ¿viste pues mirabas el video?
No, I think tonight, this night.
Ok, no pasa nada de verdad, pues acabamos de empezar con como analizar los temas y cosas así, but you didn't miss, no hay lecciones nuevas ni nada como tarea ni nada en Canvas.
Ok, that's good. Tengo otra pregunta. Ya
Sí.
ves, arreglamos el ensayo que vale 100 puntos y ya subí mi revisión, pero se pone como que es tarde. Se pone como it was late because.
De verdad no pasa nada. I always say, pues en inglés es que yo soy más poderoso more powerful than Canvas. Tengo más poder que Canvas, ¿no?
Ok, that's good.
Yeah.
Perfect, professor. I'm so sorry.
No, no pasa nada. Y también pues mi mente todavía puramente en inglés ahora. So está para como it's like for you guys to change from language to language. Sí, madre. Pues ya, no
Okay.
pasa nada, Vanessa, de verdad.
Gracias.
A ti, de nada, a usted.
Hello, Professor. Good evening.
Hi, everybody. See lots of people coming in. Shogofa and Fawad, Shamla's here. Veronica's here.
Hello,
Nila,
Professor.
Hello.
How you
Hi,
guys?
Professor.
And of course, I
Hello,
just
Professor. How are you?
I'm okay. How are you guys?
I'm not bad.
How are you?
I'm not bad. I'll take it. I know. I'm tired this week too, you guys, to tell you the truth.
Actually, Professor, I'm not really tired. I'm really sick. I was spending all my day yesterday in ER, so
Oh my
that's-
God.
yeah,
What-
Professor. Suddenly, I don't know what was happened. Like I feel suddenly pain my two arms. I start pain my back, the neck, and the arms. So that was a terrible pain, and I can't tolerate it. So I went to the ER, and they give me some treatment like the MRI for next week. And they told me that I hope that it's not because of the disc of because I was suffering like 2 years ago from the Borgen disc. So they told me that I hope it's not your neck that all the time because you're working on a computer or so sometimes it happens. But still, Professor, I'm not feeling good. I still have a pain, but they give me like a lot of medication, so many things. And my blood pressure suddenly was really high. So that was the main concern that they just keep me for a whole day. And that was a terrible.
Yeah.
Spending like 10 hours, 9 hours in ER. Oh my God, that's like, I really, respect the ER people. They have a lot of patience with the people. Oh my God, Professor, believe me. Yesterday night, I was so tired to watch the people that how they are behaving with the, health workers. Actually, they're the people that I really have admire and respect for those because those are the people in any case of the life in any position they're working and they just helping people. But I don't know, but some people are really rude and the behavior was worse. I was like, really
So I'm sorry to hear that you're in so much pain, Shamla. And of course, that's why we do the Zoom recording. So please take care of yourself, right? And you've heard me say this every week, you guys. Your health is more important than narrative writing. Narrative writing is great and it's fun and it's important. But of course, take care of yourself, take care of your family. I think that's one benefit of doing things online. So I am so happy you're here, Shamla. And also, please, please, please do whatever you need to do to take care of yourself. Health is the most important thing in life.
Thank you so much, Professor. I really appreciate it. I can understand totally. And I really appreciate that you really understand our feelings. But as long as I can be stay in class, I will. If I'm not, so I can just take
I appreciate the dedication. I really do. Really.
Thank you, Professor.
You're so welcome. So we'll get started here in just another minute or two, but I did want to give just a quick short announcement. If you see someone here who's in class with you, sitting in the Monterey Bay Aquarium, that's Dean Hicks. Dean Hicks is my supervisor, my boss, and she's here to observe me and watch me, you guys. Some of you might have been in my grammar class I don't remember who's been in what class before, but she is here to observe me and she's not here to observe you all. So there's anything different you need to do. She's just here to make sure I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, you guys.
Hello.
Professor, unfortunately, we didn't see anyone here. Otherwise,
she's here, I promise. It might be because I'm sharing my screen, but
okay.
I'm here.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Okay, Mariana says she remembers. Okay, Mariana remembers.
Yeah, I remember this time.
There's at
That
least
time,
one
actually.
or two people who have followed me around and have heard my spiel about this before. Hey, Mariana.
Hello, Professor.
Hello, Professor.
I'm sure, Professor, after this class, everyone will follow you for the rest of their ESL classes, and that's so obvious.
Thank you, Shamla. Yeah.
I think if a student happy, she will be happy.
Yeah.
I like that idea. If the student, then Diana will be happy. Okay, I'll take it.
Hello, Professor, hello, everyone.
Go ahead.
Hello.
All right, we'll get started, like I said, in about 1 minute here as people come on in. But before we start, like usual, any little questions or anything that people have on their mind right away at the beginning of class here?
No.
Well, I'll say this, we are going to continue to use A Map is Only One Story. So if you've got your copy of it, keep it close. We're going to use it today in class. So if you've got it, have it handy. And if there are no other questions, then I will just get started. All right. Hi, everybody. It is Tuesday, October 5th in week 7 of the fall semester. It is great to see you all. Here's our agenda for the day. So I have got a warm up for us and just so much fun, more practice for in-text citations like we talked about last week. That's what we'll start with. We will not spend as much time as we did last week, but just a chance to let you practice it a little bit. Then most of what this class today will be is to just keep practicing identifying themes in narrative writing. We're going to continue to look at the dress, which we read last week. And if we go quickly, you know, if we go fast, maybe we can start or talk about one of the other stories in the text. But we're really gonna focus on theme today. And then at the end of class, maybe you already saw, but I did. I posted the first major writing assignment. It is available. It is in Canvas. So at the end of class, we're gonna go through the instructions. I will answer all of your questions and hopefully remove any fear, any worry, any anxiety that you feel. Okay, so I see Mahid shaking his head, so that's good. Okay, so here's what I want us to do for our first warm-up activity. I want you to, again, we're practicing in-text citation, right? In-text citation. So hopefully you have some memory of what we did last week. I want you to go to your textbooks. And I want you to look at pages 145 and, 144 and 145 of the dress. Then I want you to choose one sentence. Look at both of these pages. Choose one sentence that you feel is connected to that. You see how fast I was typing. That is connected to the theme of the story. And then in the chat, I just want you to practice writing an in-text citation for that quote, and then we can look at those things together, right? So I'm not going to type it on the screen for us, but can someone just tell me or type in the chat an in-text citation? We know we need the quotation marks, right? But at the end of the quote, what I already sort of did it with my hands, as you can see, what do we need for an in-text citation?
Parentheses.
Yes, thank you, Mohid. We need parentheses, open parentheses. And then what do we need after that?
Close parentheses.
The page.
But between
last name,
the page number.
Last name.
last name and page number, and close the parentheses.
Thank you. I want to go in order. I love that Mohid said parentheses, and then Khatira said close parentheses. Yes, but between the parentheses, so we've got open parentheses. Then what? Author or page number after
Author,
that?
last name, and then
On page number.
Shakila already said it. Author's last name only, right? And then page number, and then
close the parentheses, and then the period.
I love it. And exactly the thing that looks very strange to some people who have studied in other countries. Yeah, the period on the other side of the parentheses. And hopefully an obvious question between the author's last name and the page number. What do we need?
Space.
Thank you, Sir Kalem. Perfect. So pick a quote, practice your in-text citation. We'll just do about 5 minutes. We'll just do this on your own. I'm here if you need me, but pick a quote, put it in the chat, and then we'll look at some examples together, okay?
Okay. I just came
Here if you need me, just let me know.
Just go here.
The instructions are on the screen, circle them.
Okay.
Professor, we have to write on chat, or we can share ideas as well. We can say.
We will talk about your ideas, but I would love for you just to practice typing it. So if you're able to, type it in the chat. And if not, just be ready to share your quote, okay?
Okay, Professor. Sounds great. For today is better that I will just share. I
That's good.
was
I was gonna say,
just
just
in my hands. Thank you.
you, like I said, take care of yourself, Sean.
Thank you.
Great. I've got the first one. Perfect. And I see some people are sending it to me direct message, private. Some people are doing it in a big group. However you want to do it is all good. I'm just going to start putting the examples into our slide here. Maybe another 2 or 3 minutes max. Okay, we're going to talk about the theme. So if you're stressing about, oh my gosh, where's the theme? We've got lots of time for that. But I do want to make sure that you get to practice your in-text citation first.
I think, Professor, I'm not able to see anything in the chat, so probably it's just private.
Private messages, yeah.
Yeah.
I'll copy and paste right now so you can see it.
Sorry, it wasn't private. I mistakenly.
No problem.
I pushed the button, but I can post it again, you know.
Remember, this is a very low stakes. That's just to say, no big deal, no problem at all. I'm going to make it a little smaller so we can get more of your examples onto the page here. Mm. Cool. I love it.
Is this something the first one, Professor?
Yep, you got it. Vanessa, you're on it. I'd love to see maybe 2 more examples. Already interesting that 2 people chose the same quote. Again, that makes me a happy teacher, I'm not gonna lie. But I'd love to see 2 more and then we'll talk about it.
Professor, can I share mine?
Sure, you wanna speak it?
Yes.
Yeah, please.
So Professor, for the sir, from page, I think from the beginning. So if you're a young woman in her early 20s graduation, a certain kind of tiny elite liberal arts college in the Northeast, education dresses represent a rite of passage. But the main thing that I choose as a coding, so it says like carry over from the boarding school past shared by many students. It's a very specific kind of dress. White or cream students is very white a white or cream colored that are pale pistol shaped, simple and stripless.
Got it. And we can come back and talk about the Shamla, but I want to make sure just that we're focused on page 144 and 145. I think your quote comes from a little bit earlier in the story.
Okay, 144 and 145. Okay.
No problem. We've got 4. This is great. This is great because it's a place for us to start, right? It's a place for us to look at a little MLA formatting. So if you're still working, that is great. No problem. There is nothing wrong in all the world. But just for time, I want to make sure we look at some of these examples, talk about the MLA formatting, and then, the much longer, more complicated and more interesting discussion about themes in these type of stories. Fawad, I see your little yellow hand. What's up?
Yes, I had a question. What do we call if we use like 2 quotes in a sentence? What do we say? Double quote, or it has any other name?
If you use 2 different in-text citations in the same sentence?
Yes.
I don't know that it has a special name, and I think probably like we briefly talked about last week, better to put, if you're quoting 2 different things, probably better to put it in 2 different sentences. But instead of thinking about vocabulary or what to call it, Fawad, we'll just look at how to do it, and then we'll talk about the theme a little bit, okay?
All right, thank you.
Yeah, good question, though. All right, of how different it was. Excellent. Okay, I love it. Okay, again, I just want to focus on the formatting first. So the first one I've got, quote, right? Quote, graduation day is just a Saturday. I try not to think too much about, end quote, parentheses, last name, space, page number, just the number, end parentheses, and period. Any mistakes on this first example? Do you think?
I believe yes.
Shakila, what'd you say? I don't know.
I think no.
I think no.
No.
Fawad, what do you think? Any problems?
I think some of them has capital letters.
Let me look at page 144. That's an interesting point about graduation. So I think what Fawad's talking about is the capital.
Yeah, it's the same on the book. I didn't.
Yes, and Shakila is saying that exact same thing. Now, Shakila this quote is right sort of after the page break here. It's in this first paragraph on 144. And like Shakila says, graduation D gets the capital D for graduation day, like a formal name, right? Like a proper name, like a holiday almost, right? A proper noun. So Shakila is exactly correct. We are quoting, right? This is word for word. So keep everything the same. Capital D is great. So capital graduation day is just a Saturday. I try not to think too much about, end quote, author's last name, page number, and a period. This is perfect.
Yeah.
This is perfect MLA in-text citation formatting, right?
I think it's Sunday.
Is it in the book? Is it Sunday? Yes,
Yeah.
it is.
Sunday. There is just one.
Thank you. Yeah. Interesting. Good,
Yeah,
good.
it's typing problem.
Shakila saying that. Good, but still capital S, right? Still capital S. But yes, we did have a different day of the week. But again, quote, same exact words from the book, end quote, parentheses, author last name, page number, parentheses, and period. All good, right? All good. How about the next one? I wanted, quotation mark, I wanted to run my father undercover, end quotation mark, no space, parentheses space. Then I think we've got to auto-correct because we've got the author's last name and then a space after the page number. Where are the errors here, you guys?
The space is problem.
Yeah, the space.
Good. So where
Both spaces.
we have a space here. Do we want a space here?
No.
No.
Where do we want it?
In the backside,
Oh,
the parentheses.
After quotation.
Parentheses.
Yes.
I think I heard Shamla and Wahid after the quotation. So end quote, and then the space,
Yes.
and then the parentheses. And again, I think what happens here is the computer doesn't auto-correct. Notice the spelling for her last name shows the squiggly red line, right, you guys? So membrane is a word, but it's not her last name, so it should be membreno. We have the space and page number, excellent. And then we have a space here. Do we want this space?
No.
No.
Yep.
And then we have the period, right? Great. Next one, quotation marks, and then graduation day is just a Sunday, thank you. I try not to think too much about. What's missing in this one?
Again,
The last name.
the quotation mark and the space as well.
Good. Quotation mark goes after this word about, right?
Space.
The last name
Yep.
and between the parentheses, yes.
Then
Last name and a space.
And the period.
good. And instead of the quotation here, period.
Period.
Excellent. And again, if you are one of the students who made this mistake, welcome to the club. Like I told you, in grad school, this is just a matter of practice, everybody. It really is just small details and practicing. It's why we take the time to do it together, okay? And then we have quote, when everyone spilled onto the lawn after the ceremony, diplomas in hand, posing for pictures, I fled, quotation, space, parentheses, membreno, space, page number, parentheses, punctuation.
Yes, perfect.
Oy, oy, oy. Yeah, no errors of any kind, no mistakes. This one is perfect in-text citation format. Last one, and then we'll stop talking about punctuation and start talking about the story. And the last one says, of how different it was from how any of us ever imagined. Again, we talked about this last week, but again, I'm very happy to see that word different in a quote that some of you chose. That makes me very happy. But we do have some MLA formatting issues. What do we need at the beginning of the quote?
Quotation mark.
Quotation.
Quotation.
The beginning and the end.
The end of the quote?
Yes.
Yes.
That's it, right? So open quotation, then word for word, end quotation, space, parentheses, last name, space, page number, parentheses, punctuation, right? Excellent. I see more people in the chat practicing, people saying, I forgot the quotation marks. It was my mistake. Not a problem. That's why we do it. Okay. So again, we will keep practicing this MLA stuff in these sort of little chunks, because I know now when we do it for 2 hours straight, our brains shut off. But any questions about the in-text citation stuff before we move on to the more interest? I think, this is important. Like I say, this is very important, but there's more interesting stuff to talk about. So any questions about the in-text citations?
No, Professor.
No.
I saw some more people come into and hi, Baran. And Baran, I was thinking about you. How'd it go? Do you want to tell us? How was your interview?
Hi, Professor. Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Sorry about last week because I don't know what happened. Last week I connect not internet but cut off my internet last week. I don't know Why?
No problem. No problem, Baran. I was just thinking about you talking about choosing your clothes for your interview and stuff like that. So I hope everything was good. I hope everything was okay.
Yeah, me too. Good. Thank you.
Excellent. I had a great question in the chat, and I'm going to duplicate the slide, and it was such a good question. It was, what does MLA stand for? It is an acronym, Modern Languages Association, MLA. And it's, as I said, there's many different companies. I won't be too cynical here, you guys, but many different publishers and people have an opinion about the best style, right? The best way your paper should look and be written. And there, like I said, I'm not making this up. I've had to learn APA, that's the American Psychiatric Association, MLA formatting. One of my teachers at Davis liked this Harvard style. So every place will have a different style with slightly different rules. The good news I have for you is, for us in ESL and in the English classes that you take, you will see MLA. But you might go to another class in college that uses a different style. So if you see on a syllabus, if a teacher says, we use APA style, or we use some other style, go talk to the teacher, ask for more information, or remember what I showed you last week, right? And it's in Canvas for you, that online writing lab, the OWL Purdue website. Now I know there's a lot of information here, but OWL Purdue has information about rules for MLA formatting. Right, here's some noise outside. General writing, writing style. Oh, excuse me. I should have just Googled, there it is. Okay, here, you see how it says suggested resources. MLA guide, this will teach you all the rules for MLA. APA guide, this will teach you all the rules for APA. Chicago guide, this will teach you all the rules for Chicago style. So that's why it's really important to read your syllabus as you go from 325 to English 300, 340, wherever you're going to go next, right? You're going to take college transfer level classes. Look at the syllabus, talk to the professor, and there's lots of YouTube videos and resources. If you take a psychology class, for example, that wants APA, it's important to look up some of that information. But we're MLA in English, generally speaking, is MLA formatting as well. Whose question was that? I just want to say thank you for an excellent question. Thank you, Fawad. And like I said, I don't want to be cynical, but you know, MLA will sell you a book that will teach you exactly how to do this style. APA will sell you a book that will teach you about how to do all the rules. Okay. Thank you. That was fantastic. I'll leave this here for you guys to review. But remember, part of my warm up here was to ask you to think about a quote that is connected to the theme of the story. And again, my very quick review, I've showed you the same slides for the last 2 or 3 weeks, but it's important to talk about. Remember, narrative writing includes sort of 3 parts, right? So there's the theme, introduced early in the writing, usually returned to throughout the writing. Usually there's keywords, ideas, or images that are repeated. Excuse me. And this is why I told you to look at page 144 and 145, the final pages in the story. Usually you get a connection or a repetition of that theme at the end of the narrative, right? And this is different or connected to the actual narrative writing, right? I did this, we did that. This is the story with the beginning, middle, and end. And as we talked about last week, right, the narrative in the dress is about Soraya's graduation at college, right? It's a short story, and it really just talks about what happened on the day that she graduated from university. Then the last type of writing we see is that descriptive writing. Now, this is like the great quote that Shamla was reading at the beginning of the story, right? Where she's describing the type of dress. Usually it's a white dress, it's long and billowy, it's very flowy, right? We can sort of imagine what that dress looks like. Again, the descriptive writing is about the 5 senses. And we did a lot of good work with this last week. I think you all found great examples of descriptive writing in the story. But as we said at the end of class last week, one of the biggest challenges is the theme, right? This is not a 5-paragraph essay where the thesis statement is the last sentence in the introduction paragraph. In a story like this, we kind of have to feel our way through it to find the deeper meaning of the story. So I've got an activity here for us to keep thinking about that. Now, some of the things that people talked about last week were expectations was a key word. Clothing, and of course the dress, right? The name of the story is the dress was an important symbol. Graduation, family, camera and photos, cultural difference and tradition. So to prepare for class today, I sort of took some of these things and separated them for us to show you. So if we think about connected symbols or descriptions and how they connect to the themes, I sort of have these 3 big symbols or big key words, big images, big ideas and key words that keep getting repeated, right? Graduation, camera, photo, and clothing and the dress, right? Now, this is not a literature class. We don't need to do a deep analysis of symbols and what they mean, right? But these are different things that she describes in the story. And like I said, if you're thinking about where to find the theme in a story, a good thing to do is look for words that get repeated. And the word dress is in this story about 20 times, right? She talks about her mom and her dad on almost every page, right? So what I'm asking you to do is start to think about how these symbols get connected to bigger themes we talked about. So I've got 3 themes here: family expectations, tradition, and cultural difference, right? These were all things that we talked about at the end of last week, right? So we're going to connect this, but do we have any ideas or questions when I say these 3 themes, right? Expectations, family expectations, tradition, and cultural difference. Does anyone want to add to these? Because we're going to look at some examples from the text here. But does anyone want to ask questions or have ideas about these themes before we look for them in the text? Because that's the next part we do here. First, I guess maybe I could ask, agree? Do we agree that these are some of the themes? Or if we don't agree, what am I missing? Let's just talk about this briefly.
Actually, your sound broke up, Professor.
Got it. Am I back? Yeah, I saw the little.
Yes, Professor, you're back.
Me? So I was saying these 3 themes, thank you, Fawad, for telling me. Family expectations, tradition, cultural difference. Do we agree that these are the themes? Do we want to add any more? What can we say about them before we try to find some sentences that connect to these themes? Katara gives me the yellow thumbs up. That's great.
Actually, yes, Professor. This is the big things and the main themes that we already mentioned in there. But I think there is as you mentioned, yeah, there is a more. If we can read more, so we can find more and more in this thing.
Do you want to add one to this list, Shamla? Is there anything you want to add right now?
And family expectation. Actually, she is expected before when she back to home. She knows that her mom make her, fun of her dress in Miami. So she was really worried and nervous about the mom's, opinion, because whenever her mom sees, she said, what kind of dress is this?
Good. Great. Okay. I'm sort of specific moments or quotes. So again, Shamla's already doing sort of what I want us to do here, which is when we talk about the different themes and symbols, which you guys did such a great job of last week. I think one of the biggest challenges for us at this level is, can we find quotes that prove that this is the theme, right? Can we select good quotes that are clearly connected to that theme? So Shamla's starting to do this, but Shamla, do you want to add anything to this family expectations, or do you kind of agree that these are the big three themes?
Actually, Professor, for now, I think this three is a big things. But for now, I don't have any idea like for other things that I can add. I don't know.
That's fine. Good. And that's all good, right? I just wanted to make sure we feel good with these themes. We're comfortable with these themes before we look at some examples. Anybody want to add?
The family expectations, you know, she didn't want a silly ceremony, you know.
And when you say she, Fawad, who do you mean?
The
author or her mom?
Her mom. Yeah, she didn't want a silly ceremony. She wanted a good one.
Okay, good. Now we're just starting to think of examples. Let's go there. So let's go there. I want to go back to your quotes that you chose. So keep this in mind here. But if we look back at the quotes that people chose, right? And remember, I'm going to move this closer here. So family expectations, tradition, cultural difference. What I want us to do is look at the quotes that you chose and think, okay, are any of these quotes connected to these three themes, right? We're thinking about a paper, we're thinking about an essay. So look at these quotes. Are any of them connected to family expectation, tradition, or cultural difference? I'll keep them on the screen and then we'll talk about it.
I think Professor, the last one. Oh,
yes.
Go ahead.
Please, who I heard Wahid and someone else.
It's me, Professor.
Katara, go ahead. Katara, go first and then Wahid, please, Katara.
Yeah, so the last one I wrote, it goes with the culture difference, I think. I don't know.
I love it. Good. So can you tell us why? I think I agree, but here's the real thing, right? We're going to start practicing doing this in our writing, but we're doing it like live right now. How is this theme and this quote connected, Katara?
So Professor, there is differences between how every person think about their cultures. So that's why I said this goes with that one.
Good, I love it. And like I said, we already see this key word here, right? Different is connecting back, of course, to even some of the words we have in the theme here. Absolutely. Wahid, what were you going to say?
I was saying that the graduation day is just on Sunday. I try not to think too much about it. So this goes to the second one, to the tradition, graduation.
Tell me why.
That's because it's the graduation day, and she is gonna be graduated from the school, and that ceremony related to the to his education and to his school.
Good. And I think you already said this, but I want to make it just clear here. If we say one of the most important themes in this story is about tradition, and you have this quote, right? This quote about a Sunday, what is the tradition that she's writing about?
It should be the cultural differences, right?
Hold on, I maybe I'm making this more complicated than it needs to be. What is the tradition that she's talking about? It starts with the G.
That's graduation, right?
Thank you, right? Exactly correct, right? Exactly correct. Now, and again, I'm not trying to be too silly here, but a lot of this work of trying to find a theme in a story, or when we go to research writing, for so many of our ESL students, it feels like working backwards, right? Because if you learn the 5-paragraph essay structure, if you look for the thesis, then we sort of have this feeling like, well, the author should just tell me, like graduation day is all about tradition, and this was a big difference for me. But of course, there's no sentence where the author says this, right? We kind of have to figure it out by doing a closer reading of the story. And that's why I asked you, Wahid, there are key words here, right? There are key words that we're trying to identify to connect back to these themes. Does anyone want to agree or disagree with Wahid there? I agree. Or can we add anything to what Wahid said about tradition and graduation and how they're connected?
So the graduation goes by the tradition, you know, they are kind of connected with each other.
I think, Fuad, we could put an equal sign between them. In this case, tradition, graduation is the tradition that she's talking and writing about. Now Fawad, excuse me, Wahid did a great connection there to cultural difference. Now, what was different for her and her family though, right? They had another tradition, right? That they had their own family traditions, their own different cultural traditions. And what were some of those traditions just between her and her family? Anyone think of an example?
I think, Professor, that shows the differences between the modern culture and the simple one, because in Miami it's a modern culture. This totally what is their they are doing in their country. But I think the differences between modern and the normal one. So this is a big it all the story shows, and this is the base on that what is the differences between especially the culture. But I think it shows the economic system of the people, that how it's changed, In Miami, it's different. They're like, they can afford more things. That's the modern. But I think then their country is simple because of that they cannot afford a lot of things. So I think it shows really big two differences.
Good. I love two things. Shamla brought up modern and traditional. She also brought up money, 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 which we could say that maybe it's its own theme in this story, right? Maybe we could say that there's a big theme about money and who's included and who's not included. But let's stick with this. So Shamla, I think I already said this. So what's the modern culture? Her university or her family?
Her university, Professor.
Exactly correct.
Yes.
And what is the traditional culture?
It's a family.
It's a family, and she was so proud of her, which is kind of immensely proud of her.
Actually, Professor, the main thing that I can, specify, note in the story, the way she's explaining that her father was suffering in a small cottage, with the low-income people, and they're treating their family like unfairly from other people. Like it shows the differences between the rich and low-income people.
Well, let's talk about it, because I think this was Hugh Lee's quote that I wanted to get to. So let's talk about this one. Hugh Lee, if it was someone else, forgive me. But where is it? This one. And there's another quote here on 144. Yes. Actually, I think I'll just, can you guys go with me to page 144 here? It's the last paragraph before the break here, right? It's the last paragraph before the break. And we could choose any quote we want, but I've got sort of two different quotes. I think both of the quotes that you guys chose for 144 are here. So this is that connection between the family piece. And let's see if we can make some connections here. So that paragraph starts with, I wanted to run my father undercover, hide him from this thing he had yet to notice. I knew on some level that he was immensely proud of me, but I also felt for the first time the fear of translation and everything that might be lost in it. When everyone spilled onto the lawn after the ceremony, diplomas in hand, posing for pictures, I fled. I grabbed a plate of tiny sandwiches, careful to not get anything on my newly acquired $200,000 piece of paper. And I got my dad out of there, out of a desire to protect or to hide, for his sake or my own, I still don't know.
Yes, Professor. So this shows what I want to mention. Yeah.
Now, again, I think I want you to talk now, Shamla, but I think this quote, this paragraph shows really all three of these are connected, right? We can't say, oh, this paragraph is only about one of them. But tell me, what does this paragraph do for you, Shamla? How is this connected to some of our themes?
Actually, Professor, it shows that between the cultures, the traditional, the family expectation. because not in sometimes from the beginning to the end, she was not comfortable with the environment. What was, doing, like when she saw the environment with the modern culture, with the rich people. So she want to want to cover herself with his father and just want to, as soon as possible, she back to the home. And her degree was not just, as precious for her. She also just thought about how his father was spending a lot of money to on her to get her degree. So that's really important. And I think this is only then kids can feel that they're in a low-income families or like a poor families, like the people who know the value of money, the kids, but not everyone like the rich luxury family. They just think, oh, I just need my diploma, that's it. But they're not thinking how hard was it is.
I love it. Shamla said a lot there. There's a lot of interesting things there. Someone else, Shamla got at this, but I'd love to hear someone else too. When we talk about family expectations, I think what I heard Shamla say there partly was Soraya felt uncomfortable at the university because she did not expect to feel poor, right? We kind of get this feeling, right? She was surprised, right? We have all of this at the beginning of the story, right? That's the whole point of the dress. The dress is supposed to be beautiful and white and new and clean and da-da-da-da-da. And she wears her red and polka dot dress, right? She wears her red and polka dot dress. I want to think about that. Just look at that paragraph, you guys. What other expectations, either family expectations or personal expectations, what other expectations? For example, what expectation do we think Soraya had about her father?
Because her father was undercover, and undercover. So in my opinion, this story has two aspects.
Go on.
So her father wanted to do what she wanted, but she could not afford. She was kind of shy. He wanted to be around. The way he wanted to show up himself, he didn't have the capability to spend the money, so that's why he wanted to be around. And both the father and the daughter, they had the same expectations, the same feeling, because of this economic situations, and they couldn't they couldn't do whatever they wanted to do.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
She expected her father to be on the show or on the graduation ceremony, but to wear like fancy clothes and like the clothes that the other dads or family members of the other people who are being graduated from in the ceremony, to be the same level. But since they were like coming from poor family, and that were not like wearing the same type of clothes and stuff, that's why she wanted her father to be undercover and not to be known by the other classmates and stuff. And also the dad expected to be in the ceremony and to enjoy that her daughter, see her daughter, that her daughter is graduated, and he feels the proud father as the other fathers, other proud fathers do in the ceremony.
Now we're on it, right? Now we're right on top of it. Now, really, you guys, again, just happy teacher, you see me, like, we're really talking about deeper themes here, right? We're not just talking about the events in the story. We're talking about deeper meaning here. And Wahid did a great thing connecting, like when Fawad said there were two things going on here, I think you both just said it, right? Like there's two things about expectation. Soraya's father did not know what expectations of the graduation were, right? He didn't know how to act or what to do or how to be, right? It says he's like we were saying, there's a money problem. There's also what? A language problem, right?
There was also competition, competition between the classmates. So whatever
in the high
she
society,
expected,
Yes.
Go ahead.
Love Shamla says high society. Yeah, it is very, this feel very high society, doesn't it? I just want to finish my thought. Then Soraya, so we have two expectations, and I'm going to introduce a third one here. So Soraya's dad didn't know what the expectations were at the graduation, and Soraya expected her father to be at the ceremony, but then she didn't realize that he would be out of place, that he wouldn't know what to do, right? And that's kind of what this whole paragraph is about. She has this moment, she has this realization of, oh my goodness, like I don't know what to do because my dad doesn't know what to do. Now, I want to hear from more people, but let me plant this seed now. What was her mom's expectation? How can we connect this family and expectation things? Because we learn more about her mom in this story too. Where does her mom come into this? What expectations did mom have?
Other people, you said, right? No, that's.
You can, I mean, you guys know I wanted to finish my thought, but Wahid, if you want to, and of course,
Okay. Since we repeated this word, like they were like poor people, and they had to pay like the ticket fare for 3 people to attend to the ceremony. That's why the mom stayed home, but she still expected the ceremony to be like held as they think, as they expected, like their own country, back their own country, whatever they celebrated their graduation day for the schools or universities. That's why she, when she wore that dresses, she saw the picture and she said, "What the hell?" or something. She yeah. She did not expect that dress because maybe they have had their own costumes and dress for their graduation.
Nice.
The silly clothes, yeah, like a childish one, yeah.
Good. Anybody want to add to what Wahid said there? I'm sort of taking notes and I'll talk about it, but anybody want to add? Good. I love it because again, and I'm going to read some more for us here, but I love that Soraya, we talked about this one. Soraya's mother expected, and now I'm going to go to page 145. You guys, I'm going to continue on the bottom of 144 and go on to 145. So it says here on 144, very bottom, now, whenever my mother looks at the 2 or 3 graduation pictures on my father's computer, because there is no framed portrait or blown up image hanging on any walls, all the illusions break down. I see the blame spiral start at her eyes, tunneling downward to her gut. I want to tell her that I barely noticed she wasn't there. I was so busy. I want to tell her it's commonplace, just undergrad, just another silly ceremony no one will remember. She hates how few pictures there are from that day, but part of me is thankful for my father's distraction because that means there's less evidence to tally. Tally means record, remember my mother's absence. So even a simple one here, Soraya's mother expected what? More pictures or less pictures?
More pictures.
Exactly right. And what here? Soraya expected her mom to be there, yes or no?
Yes.
She did.
She's just missing because she was really busy, but every time she missed her mother. And she's glad that his father like took less pictures from that silly day because her mother was not there. So.
Exactly correct. Exactly correct. Now we could say, okay, did Soraya expect her mom to be there, or maybe she knew that she wouldn't be there? We could talk about that. But I think this quote absolutely is where all of these things that we've been talking about really start to come together, right? We have Soraya's expectations, her mom's expectations, her dad's expectations. And at the end of the story, notice this isn't narrative, right? This isn't saying first we woke up, then we went to breakfast, then we got in the car, then we drove to the store. It's not just a beginning, middle, and end story, right? It's some deeper reflection. It's some deeper thinking about some of what the story means, right? What the story means. So we could say Soraya's mother expected her dad to take more pictures. Soraya maybe expected her mom to be at the graduation. So she was sad that she could not be there. Is this starting to make a little bit more sense, you guys? I know it's like I said, it's more complicated than finding the narrative, but in a certain way, it's a little bit more, you know, it's a little richer. It's a little richer. Any other ideas about expectations or anything that we just read there on 145 about her mom, her dad, expectations? Cool.
Professor, can we add expectation and theme?
Yes, I mean, that's what we're doing, Shamla, right? I'm sort of saying, again, I'm sort of trying to present different ways to think about this. So we looked at it a little bit in a sort of graphic organizer last week. Here we're sort of looking at it about how these things connect to each other in this chart, in this table that I have for us. So if we imagine the theme here is going to be family expectations.
Yes.
Then how do we know what represents that theme? Again, this is more like we talked about last week. What is connected to that theme? Well, the graduation, this idea of the clothing and the dress, the camera and the photos. Notice all this shows up here, right? When we talk about taking more pictures, all of a sudden we see how, well, the pictures are definitely connected to this theme of expectations because we learn Soraya's mom expected more photos. Right. We also learn about, you know, this was like what Fawad and Wahid were talking about. There were all these different expectations that Soraya and her dad and her mom had about graduation, period. You know, just what it would be like, who would be there, what it would feel like, and all that good stuff. So absolutely, Shamla. We're going to do the same thing with one of the other themes here, though. So you see, it's not always just one story, one theme. Right?
Yes.
In a good story, in a good narrative,
A lot of themes, yes.
There's deeper meaning, right? There's always going to be deeper meaning. Fawad, your little yellow hand, what's up?
Yes, on the description, we only put the positive things. Can we add the negative things? Here's a lot of negative things.
Give me an example.
For example, the unattendance of her mother.
That okay. Oh, this is a great. So, and you would say her mom can't come to graduation.
Yes.
And I'll ask you now, Fawad, is that part of the narrative? Is that descriptive, or is that part of the theme?
It's part of the descriptive.
I don't think so, Fawad, because remember, description is 5 senses, right? If she said, imagine this, right? Imagine that her mom came to graduation, and in the story, Soraya says, my mother looked so happy. Her smile was big on her face. Her dress was long and black, and her hair was shining in the sun. Now we're getting descriptions, right? Now
because this is also a sense. Her mom was shaking her head, you know, her hand, you know.
But I still think, Fawad, that's a part of the narrative. I think if the narrative means beginning, middle, and end of the story, I think part of the narrative in this story is mom couldn't come, right? That's all part of telling what happened in the story. And then in the beginning and the end of a narrative like this is where we get some of that deeper meaning, what it feels, why it matters, right? How it affected the writer. So, so I'd say, and good or bad, positive or negative feelings, that was your initial question, your first question. It doesn't matter if it's positive or negative for the author or for the reader, right? That's fine. The most important thing is to try and understand what is the author putting in the narrative and what is the deeper meaning of that for the narrative, right? And again, we're going to look at some more examples here together. Any other questions or ideas about expectations? Next, we're going to look at another possible theme here, and then we might take a break from this story. Any other ideas or thoughts about expectations? Cool. Let's go with the cultural difference one then. So now we're going to do the same thing that we just did, thinking really closely and deeply about expectations. What can we say about this cultural difference, though, theme? right? We've got a great quote already with the word different in it. Shamla introduced the idea of modern versus traditional. What are some, we also heard rich versus poor. If we think about the different cultures that are going on, right? What are the other cultures? If we just think about the two countries that we talk about, what are some of the other cultural differences? What are the two different countries here?
The costume and the dress.
Let's just say countries, right? She graduates from university in Shamla. Soraya graduates from university in what country? Don't think too
In
hard.
US, it's in the US, in America.
Miami? No.
Miami.
She graduates, her family is living in Miami. She went to school. She says, I think it feels like Harvard or Yale or something. It feels like a private school to me. Now, USA, and her family is from what country?
Mexico.
Nicaragua.
I was going to say Nicaragua.
Nicaragua.
And just for people who don't know, again, I think for very common in the United States that if you see you think Spanish, you think Mexico. But remember, lots of people speak Spanish. So Nicaragua is south of Mexico. It's a smaller country here in Central America, right? In Central America.
Near to Costa Rica.
Yes, closer to Costa Rica. But still Spanish. So these are again some of the different cultural differences that we've got in this story. So we've got modern and traditional. We've got rich and poor. We've got USA versus Nicaragua. Any other examples of cultural difference we can think about?
Language.
Good. Yes, Katera. So what do we got? English versus
Spanish.
Spanish.
Thank you very much. Excellent. Excellent. Anything else? This is already a very good list. This is already a very good list. So let's say some more about this, right? So what's our feeling? Like, this is another good thing we can do as we're thinking about identifying the theme when it comes time to write your own theme, right? When you think about what do you want to say in your story. So we've got all of these examples of cultural difference. What do we think she's saying? Is she saying one is good and one is bad? Is she saying, what is it that simple? Like, what is she saying about these cultural differences?
She actually expected her father to go with the modern culture.
Ooh, now we're okay. Okay, I like this. I like where Fawad's going there.
But I don't think so, Professor. Sorry, Fawad, to be all due respect, but I think she thinks that she knows that her father is not comfortable with this environment that she is there. But because of her happiness, she do a lot of things. But I think she just want to, her father like simple. But I don't think so. She, said that her father have to be like high society people and active.
I love it. Fawad, you can answer, and then I see Hugh Lee's hand, and then I'm going to go back to the book because this is the juicy stuff. This is good stuff. Fawad, what would you say? And then Hugh Lee.
I would say like she expected her father, but the father could not perform her expectation, and that's why it's kind of argued. That's why it was the graduation ceremony was kind of messy. They missed a lot of things. That was the issue. The main issue.
I love what both of you said, and then I want to hear Hugh Lee. You ready? Tell me.
Yeah, I just talk about my personal idea because I think in the United States, the graduation day is very important for every student living in the United States. But for the Nicaragua or the other country, they just think that just a normal, just a simple day. So sometimes their parents do not, if they're busy or not busy, they think that not very important days, but in the culture in that United States, very, very important for graduation day. Yeah. Yeah, that reason for the royal the parent go they come or didn't come, no problem. But for her, I think she she confused because she think that her parent even her parent do not know much about the importance of that day in the United States. Yeah.
So Hewley, really some great stuff there was saying. One thing that's clear is in the United States, there's this feeling graduation day is so important, so important, so important. The dress is so important, so important, so important. In other cultures, it might just be a sort of more normal day, a more casual day. And that is a good example, right, of the big differences here, right, Hewley? Now, here's my question I want to ask Hewley, and then I want to ask everybody. How does Soraya feel? Did she think it was so important? Where was she in this? If we think about the cultural difference, was she on one side or the other side? Because now we're really getting to the heart of the matter. What do you think that Soraya felt, Hewley?
She didn't feel professor so important. It's just for like a normal Sunday for her. So it's my opinion.
Hewley, what do you think?
No, I think because now she lives in the United States, she influenced from the United States culture. Yeah, but he know that her parents in the other culture. Yeah.
Now, this is it, right? And for so many of these stories, you guys, this really is the issue. If we say rich versus poor, rich is university, poor is Soraya's family. USA is university, Nicaragua is Soraya's parents. English is the university, Spanish is Soraya's parents. But of course, what languages does Soraya speak?
English.
It was bilingual.
Both, right?
Bilingual,
Both.
yeah.
And what culture is Soraya part of, US or Nicaragua?
US.
I am so happy because I heard someone say Nicaragua and I heard someone say USA. And of course, the answer is?
I said USA.
Is both.
Yeah, because she lived for some years in United States and she learned a lot of cultural differences. She realized a lot of different cultural differences, and that's why she expected her father to be up to date, not only from clothes but also from the social like what can I say social like movements and stuff where like a US dad does to her children. And so yeah.
Yes, and I want to add something here because Shamla and Fawad, I think you were both correct. I do think Fawad was maybe a little more correct because I'm going to read again from 144, that same paragraph, right? So right before the break, right before the page break, I wanted to run my father undercover, hide from this thing he had yet to notice. I knew on some level that he was immensely proud of me, but I also felt, and here's the quote, for the first time, the fear of translation and everything that might be lost in it, right? So does Soraya understand her father? I think so.
Yeah.
Yes.
This instance, but in this instance, does Soraya's father really understand her life?
No.
No.
Really? No. Right? Now, this is what Fawad was saying, I think, earlier. Now, I don't think that she's saying that that's good or bad, right? I don't think she's saying, oh, my dad is so stupid. And I don't think she's saying, I'm so stupid either. I think she's just sort of saying, wow, I could really see how different all these cultural differences, right? And like Mahid was saying, and for so many immigrants, this is an experience that they have. If your parents are from another country, but you're born in a different country, that could be anywhere, you guys. It doesn't have to be Nicaragua and the USA, right? It could be anything. It could be a person who's born in Japan, parents are from Japan, but they were born in Australia. It could be anything, right? But that's the pretty common experience for those children to feel kind of like both, right? Like they kind of feel like they totally understand their parents' culture and they understand their new culture, but they understand the new culture in a way that is very hard, maybe impossible for mom.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
But their parents not.
Exactly correct, Katara. Exactly correct. Now, and this is what I think, again, I think I'm thinking about Fawad's question. It's such a good one. Okay, good or bad, it's an important thing. Now, when you think about the theme of a story, I don't think that she's saying it's good or bad, right? I think at the end, it's kind of sweet. She's joking with her mom, like we were talking about, and she's speaking to her mom in Spanish, right? She could have written for us in the story, she could have written it in English, but I think it's very important and interesting that she shares her mother's words in Spanish in this story, right? And all of the stories use different languages in different ways sometimes, right? Because for so many people in immigrant stories, that's really important. You know, like I was talking about this language thing here. What are the differences that we see in this story? You know, some people speak English and some speak Spanish in this story, and some people speak both, right? She speaks both. And I think that's something really important and interesting, right? So all of the stories you've read, right, in this book, we could say that this is kind of like a common theme, this idea of difference and feeling different, but also feeling the same, and feeling really connected to one culture, but maybe feeling less connected to another culture, right? This is a really common theme for the stories in this book. And I know that a moment ago, you know, this story is about the child of immigrants, right? This is the story of a child of immigrants, but there are many other stories in this book that are just about what it's like to be an immigrant, right? The person who just arrived. And then if you, I got to grade the vocabulary for Arab past, American present. That's a story about 3 generations, right? This is, now we're talking about the immigrants and then their children and their children. So we're talking about sort of how culture and history change over long amounts of time in this book, right? But in different ways, whether it's the immigrant who gets to the new country. And in this book, of course, it's almost always the United States. But like I said, it could be any situation. The immigrant who first comes to the country, the children of immigrants, the grandchildren of immigrants. We see lots of different examples of this in these stories, in this book, right? And I think this is a really common theme that so many people, I mean, I don't want to guess, but probably all of you know something about cultural difference, right? I mean, this is probably an experience you have had in your life, I would guess. You know what I'm saying? Mahid, I see you saying yes. Yeah. And I think, does what I'm saying make sense?
Yes.
It does. It does.
Absolutely.
Yes, Professor. Yeah, totally. It's true.
Good. I see Zohra's little yellow hand and people saying, nodding and saying yes. So that's great. Julia, I think you still have your hand up from earlier. And then I see Shogofa in the chat. I think the differences of culture and expectations made a distance between the family. I'm going to say something right now. I'm going to put this in the slide. Now, this is, again, just, I'm so happy. This, you guys, now we're not doing it in this class, but if you ever have to write like this could be like a thesis statement. If I say, what is the theme of this story, which we don't do that. This is more like reading practice we're doing, right? We're reading and trying to identify these different aspects, these different parts of writing, so that you can practice your reading skills and get ready for writing. But this would be like in a literature class or something like that. If you take W350 with me, which I'm teaching now, this would be the type of essay you write. So write me, write 2,000 words. What is the theme of this story? I think Shogofa's this could be a thesis. I think the differences of cultures and expectations made a distance between Soraya and her family. Again, and I hope this is clear. Soraya, the author, she doesn't say this, right? She doesn't say the differences in culture and expectations create a distance between me and my dad. We have to sort of feel
Identify
to it by practicing these reading skills. Do you know what I'm saying? But Shuguf, I could not agree more, Shuguf. I think you said it. I think you said it beautifully. I think you said it beautifully. And Circulum says, yes, it makes sense in the chat. Good. Now, again, I hope that you're not getting too worried, because again, I'm not going to ask you what's the theme, write 2,000 words. That's not what we do in this class. That's more of an analysis type of writing, right? And that's not what we're doing here. But to be able to practice writing your own narrative, which is what we're going to do, I want you to understand sort of what you need to include in your writing, right? It's not enough to just say, I'm going to write a story about how different my culture is. In a narrative, we have to do it with a little bit more, I'm going to say, like, with a little more art, right? With a little more use of symbol and feeling and some of the ways that we see in this book. I mean, think about Arab past and American future. For those of you who have read it, right? There's lots of symbols in that book. The Persian rugs, the chairs that are in the house, that have been in the house for, you know, years and years, the trees that are in the backyard. All of these are symbols that represent Persian culture and Iranian culture, right? If you think about we're going to talk next week in much more detail about A Map is Only One Story, about A Map of Lost Things, excuse me. There's many symbols in that story. I love that story.
Yes, Professor, it is beautiful. Some of that are so good. Yeah.
It's sad, but it's so beautiful. It's so beautiful. Yeah, so again, we're going to keep seeing examples of this, but again, I want to just say it again. So this idea of cultural difference and how cultural difference affects the writers is a pretty common theme in all of these stories. But of course, how that shows up, what that looks like for each character, for each author, is different, right? Excuse me, Soraya's family is from Nicaragua. You know, Jamila's family is from Somalia. We have the story about the family from Iran, right? We have a story about a person who has an Indian passport from India. We've got people talking about Pakistan and India. I mean, we've got lots of stories from different countries. And of course, the people in this room, you'll all have a different experience with your home culture, and then a different experience with American culture. And if you lived in Turkey or Germany or Pakistan or any other country before the US, then you've got experiences with those different cultures too, right? And all of those things are connected to sort of how we see the world, how we feel about things. And certainly in a book like this, you know, what we write about, right? How we tell these stories, what's important in the stories, what those stories mean, right? And this is what I mean, and this is why it takes some time to sort of to help explain or to understand that these stories in this book, I hope you all agree, do have a deeper meaning, right? That they are trying to say something deeper than just, you know, should I apply for citizenship? It's a great question and it's an interesting question, but she's asking it because there's something in her heart that's connected to some of these themes that we've just been talking about. Oh my God, I'm talking so much tonight. Any ideas or questions or anything you want to add from what I'm talking about here?
No, Professor, thank you so much. It makes a lot of sense. Like it shows a deeper meaning of the passages that we read. I think this old stories, it's like really easy to read, but if you go really deeper, you find more and more and more things like that.
Well, that's why I use this book, Shamla. So I hope everybody agrees, right? Like I said, this book is not, I don't want you to, I hope it's easy to understand, right? I hope it's like, oh yeah, that story was about the dress and the graduation. Oh, that story was about the Iranian family and their business and how successful they were in the United States. I want you to understand what happens in the stories pretty easily, because we take much more time to go deeper and say, okay, well, what's the theme, right? Like, what's the deep meaning of just not just the narrative, right? Beginning, middle, and end. What's going on here? You know, what's the deeper meaning? What's the deeper meaning? So I'm glad that this is starting to make more sense. Anybody else, ideas or questions about this story? Because I'll tell you, and I think I know what's going to happen here. But can you show me with your human thumbs or your little yellow thumbs? My feeling is that we have done a lot of good work in just about an hour and a half here. And I think we could end a little bit early today. So we could stop here, but before we end, we'll need another 15 minutes or so. I can just show you the narrative. I had lots of yellow thumbs, like I knew that was coming. Which is, honestly, you guys, it's thumbs up for me too. I'll share something with you now that Diana's gone. It's my birthday today, you guys.
Oh, happy birthday, Professor.
Happy birthday, Professor.
I wish we knew it before, so we could
Happy
make
birthday,
it.
Professor.
Oh, Professor,
Happy
we are
birthday.
really sorry. Actually, you feel guilty that we cannot do anything, because of the distance of the
Oh, no.
online classes. Otherwise, we make a celebration, our publics, just combining our cultures and make a good party. And even today, if we all get up, so they're looking at us.
It's really my pleasure to be here with you all. You know how much I love help. You know how much I love this job. I think you all know that.
I know, Professor. It shows from your, the Professor, to be honest, the way that you're teaching, it shows that how much you love your job and how much responsible you feel to, teach a word by word for us to, and to get our goals. So I think this is, I feel really respect, Professor, and to be honest, all the time, because I know I saw a lot of people, and I'm sorry, it's not like disrespect to their professors. I'm glad in my, my destination that I started, I never see any kind of professor that they are responsible. They're too good. But I'm sorry for other, like, in regular classes, I saw like the 300 other classes. I think the professor are doing nothing, just posting. What do you do? And everything do the students. I think this is really tough.
I have no, I have no.
Yeah, Professor. I think, yeah, this is what is true is true. So, but I really appreciate it. Thank you so much, Professor. And I wish you have a healthy, long, and happy life with your.
Amen. Amen. I'm saying, I'm only sharing that with you. I didn't want to say that for Diana because, she's here to watch me and give feedback, but I'm happy to share with you all. If we end a little early, then I can spend more time with can I share one thing with you guys? So I know you all have kids. I told you I don't have kids yet, but I do have my nephews.
Nephews, yeah.
Early. If we end a little early, I can spend time with them before they go to bed, and
Sure, Professor. Go enjoy your day.
Yeah, let's go. I just want to share a picture. I don't always share pictures, but this is such a good class this semester. Let me show you my beloveds, the baby boys. Let me see here if I can find it.
Professor, your voice is reflecting.
Yeah, hold on one second. They are. Let me share my screen. There's the boys.
Oh my God, they're so cute. Naughty face like my sons.
Really?
So cute.
How old are you, Professor?
The older one is 6 and the little one is 4. And let me see if I can show you the little baby. He's almost 2. He's talking now.
Oh.
He's huge.
Very cute.
Okay. Look, the babies.
There he is.
Okay.
Your sister?
No, this is like our aunt. This is another aunt who helps to babysit the boys.
Oh my, 3 boys, Professor. That's really tough for her mom control.
That's what I said to my sister. Let me show you my sister too, just because it's like family time now, Here's here you can really see the baby boy.
Jane. Looking.
So cute.
There's the,
Okay.
Okay, Buro.
and I'll show you my sister, and then we'll get out of here.
There we go.
Here she is. This was his first haircut, so she had me take pictures to remember. There's my sister. Baby. You can
Oh,
see.
Professor, she looks like you.
I think so too, right?
Oh, yeah. The
Yeah.
smiling, the face structure.
Yeah, I think so too. There she is. And there's the man. All right. Okay.
You'd cancel this class today because
Yeah,
you.
I know. Circling some. Let's cancel. Let me show you one thing. Let me show you one. And we'll be done. But I'm done teaching. I'm just going to show you what the narrative writing assignment is, and then we'll get out of here.
Okay.
Thank you for letting me show you the most important people in my life. I really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you for your share us too.
Okay. Is my voice better? Am I still echoing, or can you hear me?
We can hear you clearly.
Okay, good. So I'm going to go to student view. Assignment. And here it is. Remember, this is the only project with a due date, and I'll tell you why, but here it is. First person narrative. Here's the first big writing project for this class. So here's the instructions. So for your first major writing assignment of the semester, I am asking you to write a first person narrative essay. This essay should include all of the elements of this genre: thematic, narrative, and descriptive writing. You should write about an event in your own life, but however, I only want you to write an experience that you feel safe and comfortable writing about. It doesn't have to be deep. It doesn't have to be sad. It just has to have some personal meaning, right? So you could write a narrative that is about, you know, a day, a sort of normal day in your life, as long as there's a deeper meaning, as long as there's a theme, right? So anything you want. And this one's really wide open. So here's the instructions: 1,200 words to write this first person narrative. And the theme for your narrative must have some kind of connection to language, culture, or translation. This is why we spent the first 2 weeks talking about translation. So if you want to write about an experience where you were translating a language, if you want to write about an experience that you had about a cultural difference in the United States, if you want to write about an experience that you had, a cultural experience that you had in your home country, whatever you want to do, but I'd like some connection in your theme about language, culture, or translation, okay? And now here's more information. The first draft, and the reason that I'm doing this even after I show you my beautiful loves, is it's due in 2 weeks. So you've got 2 weeks, you've got plenty of time, but I wanted to make sure I show you this today because the first draft is due in 2 weeks. Now, Hugh Lee and Mariana, Veronica, some of the people who have taken my classes already know here, when I say first draft, I mean it, because what will happen is you send me the first draft on Tuesday, October 19th. I will grade it and give you feedback almost right away, as soon as possible. Okay, usually less than 1 week after I get your first draft, you get a grade and you get my feedback. Then after you get my grade and my feedback, you have 1 more week to revise, resubmit, and get more points. So I love when after you get your first score, come talk to me, send me a text, send me an email. Let's talk about your essay. Then you can revise and resubmit. And when students revise and resubmit, the score always goes up, okay? This is why I have a due date for this project, because I have to be able to give you feedback, and then I have to be able to give you time to send me your revisions, okay? And then here's the rubric. It's 200 points. It's 20% of your grade. It's a biggie, right? So give it some time. I don't want you to stress, but that's why I give you 2 weeks. If you wait until the day before and you only take 1 hour, hard to imagine getting a great first grade, because this project will take some effort. That's why you have 2 weeks, right? So 100 points for structure, right? Do you have narrative, thematic, and descriptive writing? 40 points for your theme, right? So make sure you know what your theme is. And again, we've got 2 more weeks to practice theme, so we'll get more time to practice, but we've also done 3 weeks of theme already. So hopefully you feel a little bit comfortable with it as you get ready to write. 20 points for originality and effort. 20 points for editing. So hopefully no major grammar errors. And if there are grammar errors, again, this is something I will help you fix when you revise and resubmit. And then length, right? So if your essay is 1,200 words long, you get those 20 points. If it's less than 1,200 words, you don't. So just a reason, some incentive to get to 1,200 words. That's the first essay for this class. You don't need to research. You don't need to do any in-text stuff. We will do that for the last big essay. But these are the instructions for the first essay. I really hope that you have fun. I know that sounds crazy, but again, you don't have to write something that's, you know, really intense like some of the stories here. Anything that you want to write about from your own experience, as long as it's connected to the theme of language, culture, and translation, I would love to read. So those are the instructions for writing assignment 1. And like I said, it is due 2 weeks from today at midnight. So if we have questions still, we can talk about it in class before it's due. So it will be due after class 2 weeks from today. Any questions about these instructions?
Excuse me, Professor, I have a question.
Yeah, please.
The essay should be 5 paragraphs or 3?
Good question. Remember, if you look at a book like this, right, it's not like a 5. If you can write a perfect, let me say perfect, that was a wrong thing to say, Shakila. If you feel like it's 5 paragraphs to tell your story, 5 paragraphs is fine. If it's 6 or 7 shorter paragraphs, that's fine, right? If you look in this book, we even saw one that was just pictures, right? So, excuse me, think about this book as your examples for how to structure it. So I'm not worried about the number of paragraphs. I'm more,
thank you.
For the structure, we'll talk about the number of paragraphs for your research essay. For this one, I'm more interested in, do you have a clear narrative, beginning, middle, and end? Do you have examples of descriptive writing, right? Where you describe what something looks like or feels like or sounds like? And is there a clear theme in your writing? Those are the 3 most important things. If it's 8 paragraphs, great. If it's 5, great.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yep. What other questions? Great question from Shakila.
So I have small questions. Last time you said that the narrative, normally we use a simple present, but now you said experience. Experience, so we have to use simple past, I think.
Yeah, I think, yeah, a great question, Yuli. Last week, when we get to the research essay, you'll have the choice. But when you say, I did this, I did that, yeah, your essay will probably be almost entirely in the simple past. Again, though, Yuli, the thematic part, you know, the beginning and the end, sort of where you sort of talk about your feelings and what you think and feel, it would be appropriate to say, you know, now I know, or now I think. That might be appropriate, but when you're telling your story, this happened, this happened, this happened, you're absolutely correct. Probably will be in the past tense.
Yeah, this is story. We tell my story, not essay, so not opening, body of the essay, of conclusion, no conclusion. Yeah,
exactly, right? Yeah. Like I said, my advice, really, like Shakila's question and Hughie's question, is choose one story in this book that you love and try to use that same structure, right? Because again, like, I'm not worrying about introduction and conclusion in this assignment. I will, like I said, we'll worry about that for the research paper. But what I'm what I'm worried about, what I want is narrative writing, beginning, middle, and end, descriptive details in your narrative, and a clear theme. So find a story in here that you love. If you love the dress, use that same style, right? Look really closely. I saw that someone in the chat, I think Zohra was saying, she really is enjoying the book and she likes to read a few pages every night. That's great. I mean, choose your favorite story. And I'm not saying copy word for word, right? I'm not saying steal their sentences, but I'm saying use that same structure, right? That's why I use this book. These are all examples. What I'm asking you to do, right? Every single essay in this book is like a really long version of this assignment. So if you love one of these narratives, use that same structure. That is great with me. That is totally great with me. Katara, I see your hand.
Yes, Professor. So that the narrative writing, we don't need to write thesis statement. Am I correct?
No. You won't have, it won't be introduction, last sentence, thesis statement. No. But remember, in the beginning, the first paragraph or two, you'll probably want to plant that seed, right? The name of the story here is The Dress. We're going to talk about a map is only a map of lost things next week. The salmon, the fish at the beginning of the story, right? If you've read that one, at the beginning, she's at a river talking about the fish, and the fish keep coming back up in the story, right? So you don't need a thesis to say, my story is about what I learned when I went to the United States in 2018. You don't need a sentence like that, right? But you need to give some feeling to the reader, me, about the deeper meaning of your story, right? And like I said, if anybody's thinking, oh my God, how am I going to do this? My number one suggestion is choose your favorite story in this book and read it 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, and try to use that same style, that same structure, right? This is how American high school students learn too, is find something that you love and try to do it in the same style, right? And like I said, I hope you have fun, because with this essay, you do get some freedom, right? With the second big essay, it's much more like, first paragraph, do this. Second paragraph, do this, So yeah. Other questions? Cool.
Leave all the questions finished.
So the other question, last time, the discussion 3, you just graded, but I posted late. I thought I posted right away, and then I didn't use like 50 words. So I just answer Maria question, maybe 1 sentence or 2 sentences. So I just posted today. So are you gonna grade it again or just passed?
Back and look at it. Yeah, I did grade, I think 3 or 4 assignments today. I'll go, if people have resubmitted, I'll go back and look at it again. And I think that was for discussion 7 or 8. Let me look at it, Circulum. Let me look at it.
Because it's
I could say this to Circulum or anybody too. If you have a grade that you don't understand, you can send me a comment too and say, Jeff, what's going on? Hugh Lee is always great about sending comments. So Circulum, I'll remember because you said this. But if you're confused, send me a comment and that I can make sure I go back and look at it again. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I just submitted today because I thought I submitted. I just write the Google Do and then saved it, and then I didn't submit it that time.
No problem. No, you know me. This project, this is what I care about. The points for your discussions are no problem. This one is what I want. This is what we're here for, right? This is a reading and writing class. This is what we're really here for. So, any other questions?
And also the citizen, the last assignment. So how many words are we gonna use? You didn't mention there.
It's the same. In every discussion there, you'll see the assignment sheet. First post is 150. Your reply is 50. Some people would do 2 replies. So like 1 25-word reply and another 25-word reply. That's fine too. Yeah, the instructions sheet says 150 words for the first post, 50 words for the reply.
Okay, thank you.
Of
Sorry
course.
for my kids' background.
Oh my gosh, it's not a problem. I hate taking points away. You know, I feel like,
Oh no.
Okay, if that's it, I'm going to stop the recording. Let's end early. We deserve it. I'm going to go read a book to my nephews before they fall asleep, you guys.
Yeah, happy birthday. Enjoy your
Thank
special.
you so much. I'm going to stop the recording and then I'll say goodbye to all of you.